Okay, this big wheel's turning back again. I've got my new 50-liter Shad top case. I'm going to install that. But first we got to install their new, they got a heavy duty, this thing I haven't weighed it yet, but it must be 7 or 8 pounds of good Spanish steel, and by the looks of it, it's very well made. The welds look like wire feed, but the guy that's doing it was a good artist, and I'm a welder, so I can tell good beat welds from bad ones, and they did a good job on this. And so he's putting that in. So to get started, we got to start taking off some stuff. First thing you got to do is take off this yellow top panel back in here, which has the 2 pop pins. Remember, you push in the center just a little bit, and then you lift it out, set them aside someplace safe. And then on this thing, we have to we're going to have to drill 3 holes on the for the rack for the supports. It's got some pretty herky screws and supports to hold this thing down. And they sent me this, but it's a little off. It should be wider. I don't know whether the Xerox machine gave it a slight reduction or not. So I did some checking and found out that things weren't quite the way they should, and so I used the actual rack set on the bike. The holes line up better out with, that way in the real world, and I redid a template of my own. I'm going to send in the new measurement specifications back to Benento down in Florida for Shad to redo this document, and I may come up with some sort of downloadable PDF. Now, if you download their PDF off their website, remember that PDF files never come out to the right scale. They're always going to be smaller, so don't use a downloaded PDF of this drawing to drill your holes, because they won't work. So let's get into it. We got this panel off. The instructions say to remove the 2 top bolts on the front bolts on the seat hinge, and then the one in the middle, but let's get on to something else before we get to there. Okay, before we get the top rack mounted on, there's some stuff we have to do underneath. They sent you a whole new bracket from, if you feel underneath the fender here, there's like a metal bracket that goes back to give some stiffness to the plastic in the rear fender, and the license plate assembly, and then for support up in here. That was one of the plates we took apart on one of the videos I showed on how to get back in here to change the bulbs on your turn signals. Okay, they come out, in order to mount this rack with the big rack, it's got these 2 arms that come down. They add these wings that come out, so you're going to pull out this, you're going to see when I get it out, a pretty lightweight piece of metal, and you're going to get back in with some pretty herky steel here, and then all the hardware to put it back in. So let me reset up to show you where you got to get into. For those acorn nuts that we talked about earlier on the taking off the fender for the tail or the light bulb change. So you got these 4 acorn nuts, they got to come off, and then this whole thing will fall out. Okay, this is the stock one. This is pretty lightweight sheet metal that's been stamped out, and we're going to place it with this herky metal thing. So it's going to go in those same positions, and the holes match up. So, and pretty close too. So, or I should say right on. So we're going to place the tin metal with this, and then this was a real pain. I didn't know if I thought I was going to strip out the heads, because they Loctited these panhead bolts that have captured nuts on the back side of this thing. So if you have some problems, maybe you take a little bit of heat on the inside to get the Loctite to loosen up, and then pull it off. So we got that part off. I got to disassemble this because I got the taillight kit with it, so I got to get in to figure out how to wire that in to see if it's an easy thing or a hair puller. So we'll come back. Okay, I just dry mounted this, tightened it down, and I wanted to make certain that everything was copacetic. And while I had it in place, I took a pencil and drew a line around where the washer was to make certain everything was centered. And then I took my template, my correctly adjusted template, and laid it down on top, and the holes line up in the centers of the slots. These are ovals. These 2 go this way, and then this one goes up and down that way. But with my readjusted template, I'm dead center on both of them, so it should be a good fit. I took out the light bulb fixture. I've got to run down to the parts store and pick up some connectors. The ones that come with the light are not quite the right size, and it's gonna be kind of interesting to get the wire in, because there's some things that have to happen before and after and during the installation of the light. So it will be fun. So now I'm going to go ahead and drill these out. Okay, I've got my my center holes done. I'm going to take my there's a tapered drill that I used for the laminar lip windscreen, and I'm going to center me some holes here. Okay. I'm using my bracing bit and a 3/4 bit to carve a circle. And I use a piece of wood to back it up. So now I have my 3 circles, and I'll go ahead and bore these out with another with a drill bit, smaller drills, and then where are we at here? I'll drill these out with a smaller drill bit and then smooth them out with my Dremel. It's you see the black plastic coming out. It's ABS that's been painted. So you want to do it right, because these babies are about 41 bucks a piece, and the Yamaha stickers another like 10. So okay, we're just drilling a series of holes on the inside of the line. They're made with a drill bit. I'll actually, with the way I'm going to finish this off, I'll be actually on the outside of it. Just take your time and be careful. And I've got a wood block in behind to support the plastic and drill into. Okay, I've got so many tools that I found the perfect thing. I had a countersink that goes up 3/4 inch. So I just have to bore it through. Now I got my perfect, they call them 18 millimeters, is about the same as 3/4. I was originally going to bore these holes out to where I could get these little rings in, but looking at them, I don't know if they would fit with the thickness of this plastic. But I got some of these plugs to fit inside these rings in case I ever took the rack off. But it's just as easy to put this plug in the holes and pull them out when you don't need them. So I'm going to go naked with just the bored holes out to 3/4 of an inch. It's a little bit of overkill. I could have gone with a smaller hole, because the risers that support the rack are only 5/8, so I had a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, I did one thing. I put this little rat hole right here on the end plate for the tail light bulb to go through. There we go. I'll get a close-up when I get it on the bike. I also added a little bit of sheathing here with a little tie around that wing part right there. It'll cradle down in with the connection that goes to the trunk light. And then that'll match up with that little notch I told you about right there. So it'll come up out like that. I've already had to disassemble some more stuff, because one of the big long spacers, I had it in place and I was putting in and it goes wiggle out to the bottom. Luckily I was able to get it from underneath. Okay, I've got my anti-seize on the ends of these threads here, and everything's held in place. So now let me flip it up over and we'll get this puppy on.